It's been a little while since I've done a video. One of the things I really struggle with is just being able to be honest with like the process that I'm in. I want to rush to the results. I'm more like I need a quick result. I'm a doer, so I want to do and see a result. So part of waiting and kind of like going through a process becomes a tedious task for my quick mind. And I think one of the things that I found is that um, I don't like seeing myself on camera, but it's not just on camera because I don't like to see myself visually, but I don't like hearing my voice sometimes. I don't like hearing how I process things sometimes. I have a hard time coming to terms with like this is who you are. This is where you're at. This is how you sound. If you hear petty in your voice, it's because you're a little bit petty. And if you are, like you're hearing some kind of bitterness in your tone sometimes, it's like because you're a little bitter. That's the reality of it. You're not perfect. You're still a part of this process that is going from a place of like you were just there and now you're trying to go there, and that's a process, and you're not where you ought to be, and you're going to die being not where you ought to be, because that's part of humanity. But I think one thing that we tend to do that's really unhealthy is we just reject the process. We don't know what to do with our flaws and our shortcomings and our weaknesses, and our one of our first things is to be defensive and to come from a place of defensiveness. So maybe when you're replaying a conversation in your head or you're replaying a situation in your head, you're coming from it defending yourself. And if you do that a lot and practice in your mind, then it's going to come out in the way that you talk. It's going to come out in the way that you tell stories. It's going to come out in conversation. It's going to come out when you feel backed against the wall and someone is putting pressure on you. It's going to come out. It's going to surprise you. So I guess one of the things that I'm learning is to have better self-talk. It doesn't mean that I think I'm like someone brilliant and that I just have the brilliant words to myself all the time, but it's like how I talk to myself matters, the tone that I talk to myself. If I talk to myself like I'm stupid all the time, then it's gonna come out that I'm talking to other people like they're stupid all the time. If I talk to myself like critically all the time, then I'm gonna tend to be critical of others, or how I'm talking is gonna be critical of others. So I think that it's really important just to like kind of step back and look at like where you are in this process. Who are you trying to be? As Christians, we aim to be like Christ. My little girl is knocking on my door saying, "Mama, mommy's enjoying the process." No, kidding. But I think it's really important to look at who are you trying to be versus where you're at now, and it being an honest evaluation so that you can look at even the weaknesses in the process to see, okay, yeah, I'm really weak in these areas, and when I feel like I'm triggered or I'm backed against the wall, this is how I respond. So let me take some time to like think about that, to take another look at it, evaluate it a little bit without just rejecting it, which is what I tend to do myself, is that I'll look at something that I've done or that I've said and I'll just reject it altogether and be like, oh my gosh, that's awful. Instead of taking a look and being like, okay, what's wrong with it? Why was it awful? What did I say that I don't actually mean, or how did I handle that conversation that I don't think was respectable or that I don't think was loving, or what was it? And I think being someone that's quick to be that. Quick to acknowledge, okay, I'm somewhere in this process, let me see where I was. And when you look at where you're able to take ownership over your flaws, take ownership over your weakness, and be able to really acknowledge it in a way that kind of encourages us and sets us up for growth and success. Because if we're going to grow somewhere, if we're going to get better at something, that comes from like testing yourself and challenging yourself and taking a look at yourself and being honest with yourself. And so that's a good thing. Sometimes when we feel opposition to something, we think it's a bad thing, and we need to be in a different situation that doesn't bring such opposition. But I challenge you just to look at the opposition in your life right now. Whatever it is, whatever you feel like is coming against you, how are you defensive in a way that you can be a little more offensive? How are you feeling backed up to the wall or triggered or feeling a victim of the situation in a way that you can take a step back, look at where you are, where you're falling short, and how you could be a better friend, a better teacher, a better student, someone who's better equipped to represent love. And as we say all the time with our mouths, we talk about being the light, or to be able to like share love with other people. Sometimes that means taking a look at yourself and looking at yourself critically, but not from a place of defense. Looking at yourself objectively and saying, okay, this is where I'm at. Let's take a look. Let's dive in. So I just encourage you, take a look at some of the opposition that you're feeling. Look at yourself objectively and see how you can grow, how you can learn, and how you can move forward.